All right, guys. So we are doing a reaction today. We are looking at the Social Kick podcast interview of Michael Andrew, with him leaving his Faja, to go train somewhere else. I have no idea where he's training, so we're gonna kind of look this stuff up as we go through the podcast. I am completely unfamiliar with the podcast. Not completely. Not completely. I've commented to a few of their clips on Instagram, so shout out to those guys. I don't know the people. I know the names. I know I watched a clip where I think it's Brian. I think Lundquist is his last name. Auburn guy. I believe he was in the Scholar Gatorade. Shout out to Brett. Skull Gatorade video where they were throwing up all over the place. So we're gonna go. We're gonna look at this stuff. I opened up their web page. Just wondering because, like I said, I don't know the people. Are really unfamiliar with their podcast and the not to say, not to be disrespectful characters that they play on the podcast, whether that's themselves or a heightened version of themselves. Like I definitely dial up and tap into my competitive nature when I'm doing my stuff. So I'm not like that all the time, but I think like that all the time. I just don't get projected all the time in real life. I'm a lot more observant and tactical in real life, I'd say. Never mind. So yeah, we're gonna familiarize myself with them. You're on my trip. If we need to look up things as we go through, we'll do it. But yeah, and I guess to talk about Michael Andrew, I've met him, I think, one time, and it was at a Pro-Am in Oklahoma City. I think it was American Energy Aquatic Club or team or whatever. Excuse me, guys. And I think he was 14 or 15 at the time. Beat him. Undefeated against Michael Andrew. He swam the 100 fly. It was right after I swam the 200 free, about 20 minutes later. 46 500 fly, he's 47 something. A lot of the techniques that I've seen, I disagree with it, almost all of it. Maybe not breaststroke stuff. His amazing breaststroke kick. Amazing breaststroke kick. Pull, not so much. Speaking technically, if that makes you feel some type of way, then, truth hurts. Like, I'm not gonna. You choose to hate me over the truth, then hey, that says more about you than it does about me, my homie. But anyway, I got no beef with him. I think one time I had an issue, not an issue. I corrected something about his jumping off the block, and it's like, like that's bad jump mechanics. And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, hey, you're wrong. It's bad jump mechanics. Like, what land sport do you play? Like in swimming, the only jump mechanics thing you have are relay starts, and all relay starts, from what I can see, if you do the step over start, your relay starts is complete ass. Just so you know that. Athletically and comparative to what you should be doing. Like the relay start that I teach, I'm about to go see a team up in, I hope to go see a team up in, I think it's Lewis University. I'm going to teach them the Dax Hill relay start. So a story about that before we get back to Michael Andrew. I do my relay start at NCAA's. I remember the Cal coach, Dave Durden, was sitting on a chair behind me. I did my footwork, and I remember in the air, I'm diving. I go to my swim line, I look back, and I can see him back behind me, and he was just like, yeah. But anyway, my relay start's 1.2 to 1.4 faster than my flat start. Normally, it's supposed to be 0.6. So, yeah. If you do the step over start, that shit is lame, and that's why. All right, but anyway, so yeah, let's get some education going on. So I read here, and then I was like, you know what? Let me stop and throw it into the reaction. The pool. Let's move this here. How can I do this? Give me a second. All right, there we go. I like that. My to-do list for today. Filming this in the morning. Teammates and friends outside of the pool exceed the time spent in the pool. Not for me, because I play basketball. So I kind of didn't really make any strong, super strong connections and bonds with people and never knew how to make them because of that. Let's go see there. Don't get me wrong, I got some homies, but social kick, yep. All right, Dr. John Mullen. I know this guy from somewhere. I don't know how. Name sounds super familiar. All American at Purdue. Is that where it's from? I don't know how I know this guy. That with his wife, who's some coach. Maybe it's the wife. I don't know what her name is, but maybe that's how. Cause like I know this name from somewhere, so maybe I've seen the wife's name or something. She's from Texas or involved in Texas swimming or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, the name rings a bell. Okay, 90s hip hop music. Shook Ones by Mobb Deep. Okay, that's the. Is it Shook Ones? I think Shook Ones is the beat they use in 8 Mile. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, Ryan Lundquist. Shout out, first American under 23 seconds, 55 long course. Oh, we got those banners. Got them rings. 4 NCAA titles. Shout out. David Marsh and Bret Hawk. See, that's the stuff about our weekly content. That's who my understudy is. David Marsh. I went to Yale University game to pretty much followed around Breck and tried to ask him some questions. I was a little timid though, so I didn't ask him stuff I needed to ask him. But yeah, he helped me a lot. Georgia boy. You know what? Let's look this up real quick. I'm gonna look at my brother's 6 and under record. I believe he still has it. So it says that Brian's stood for 26 years. Round Rock Dolphins. Team records. I got him. 1801 is my brother's. Still has it. 1999. It's funny, a lot of these kids I coached this girl right here when she was 7. This girl right here. These are people I grew up with down here. That's crazy, right? Up here too, people I grew up with. Kelsey Townsend. I used to have some records in here, but obviously my brother came through and wiped them out. So I started as an 8-year-old. So my records didn't really have a chance. I think I coached Izzy when he started. But yeah, you can see my brother was just whooping ass. Sarah Suspendus was like a god amongst swimming back then. Like, go to tags and win, like, everything. Tags is the Texas championships. But, yeah, all these girls right here I grew up with. My brother still got a bunch of records. Jeez, I didn't know you said the 9, 10-year-old ones. Well, my brother was winning state championships at 10 in the 50 freestyle, so that makes sense. 10 years old, going 27.6 and 12. Dempsey Cho, that's my guy. Yeah, what up, Dempsey? I had Dempsey when he was like 6 or 5, I think. So this must be 2023. So yeah, I had Dempsey when he was like 6. He's a little knucklehead. He listened, but he was just out of control. You know how 6-year-olds are in the water. No muscle control or motor skill control. 13 for a 25 fly. I think he was like 28 or mid. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to it. Pound per pound, the 50 free is a harder race in swimming. I disagree. I think probably 2 back is. As far as mentally, without a doubt, not even close. Luke Paddington, Trinidadian. Within the 10th of qualifying for the Atlantic. And I said this before. Numbers are a funny thing, right? Because a 10th of qualifying, that could be 8th place, right? If it's a tight event. So, yeah, it's always interesting. It might be 0.19, right? Is it a 10th? Yeah. Technically, who's going to look that up also, right? So, not calling anybody anything disingenuous. Just saying, like, it's numbers. I love numbers because it's like, what am I really reading here? New York boy. All right. What type of merch we got? Oh, just a t-shirt and hat. Hat's all right. Let me see something super player though. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. All right, so let's just dive into this thing.
The room for growth is insane. I've never lifted consistently. I've never developed these, major muscles that I can use to my benefit in all of my range of events. I've never trained in a group setting with other pros and, guys that are at my level pushing me day in and day out.
Oh, whoops, my bad. I'll make sure that I have this mic turned off so we don't get that echo. But one thing that's interesting about what he just said right there, and I know this personally because this is my experience, is especially at his speed, he'll swim faster as he gets stronger. But like I said, I don't like anything about his technique in freestyle, butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, except for his kick. With the way that his posture in the water, like he might get stronger on land, but because he doesn't have a posture that allows him to access his strength, him being light is actually beneficial. Okay, so let's say he can only move 100 pounds of force and he weighs 100 pounds, right? But because of his posture, he can only access, let's say, 50% of his strength, right? So there is less body to move through the water with that 50%, right? Now, if 50 may have been too much, but let's say 30. That's probably a better way to look at this. Or to understand what my point. All of a sudden, he gets up to 200 pounds, right? And he can move 150 pounds of force, right? Now, maybe 200 pounds for his body isn't that bad of a ratio because it's spread out. But let's just say that he can only access 30% of his 150, right? So he's only getting 50 pounds. He's only really getting 20 pounds of force for swimming, right? Because he went from 30% of 100 to 30% of 150, right? So he gained 100 pounds and only gained 20 pounds of force, right? That's not a good benefit. Now he's going to drop time with that, right? So he's going to be like, oh, if I keep getting stronger, eventually that ratio, he's going to be too heavy, right? And I believe this will probably be the same thing that happens to Mr. Romania. I'm drawing a blank right now. I like his technique. It's going to be a lot harder for him to not get faster. But I think the fact that he's so skinny and so fast is something that you got to be careful about because it's all body weight to strength ratio, right? Now, he might get too big, which makes him lose some range of motion. And, depending on how deliberate his technique is, like the stuff that we do in our weekly content is very deliberate. Like you control every part of your stroke, right? So if his gift is a natural thing that connected because he was doing this thing so well that like as it was happening, it just accidentally connected the right way with something else. And all of a sudden you get him bigger and it can't connect the same way, right? Things could go south. So We'll see. Maybe that's a good thing for Michael. Maybe it's not.
I can guarantee.
And the bad thing about that too is, right, say it's a bad thing, now his move to train looks bad and all this other stuff, when really, like, it wasn't the move at all. It's just, it was a technique. So, you know, I'm not, you know, don't wish anything ill for him, but, you know, if you watch this, Michael, keep your eyes peeled.
You lose money pretty quickly when you don't make an Olympic team.
Well, I don't know, man. At
the
least
grimaces.
but that's where I'm sure that's the case, especially when you got a lot of incentive based you know, deals. But at the same time, I feel like that's where there's huge upside for people that are really open like you are and sharing and building a profile and social media, because it opens up some other opportunities where you're like still engaged with an audience no matter what, like ups and downs.
No, totally. I mean, I haven't been good with it. It's something I'm getting back to, like the amount of people I have, even a regular day, like I'm walking around the grocery store and all people come up to me being like, hey, we miss your vlogs. And I'm like, who are you? Like, this is crazy. So I know like there's things that I need to be, and that's kind of like, I feel like there's a lot of silver linings in what happened like 8, 9, 10 months. And so for me,
so shout out to him, you know, moving product. I always wonder though, like, you know, it's a little bit of a tricky thing, like understanding your market, right? And I just watched a video on some TikTok chick, what's her name? Derulio. She had a sister, and then they tried to like copy the Kardashians, but she had no idea what her market was and how to sell to them. And, you know, now she's, you know, has like, what is it, 150 million followers on TikTok or something. But she's getting like 2,000 views a video. Like, that's a terrible conversion. It just says you don't understand your market and how to connect to them. So I always wonder, like, with swimmers, like with my brand, like the thing that I try to connect to with my with potential customers is like they're swimmers. They at its core, we want to swim faster, right? Whether it's ego, whether it's the parent egos, whether it's the coach's ego, we want to swim faster. We want the rewards to come with swimming faster. So my brand and my connection is, you know, that this is like the Rolls Royce of performance products. You know, that's what I'm trying to convey. Although I do it in a very aggressive way, I try to do it in a way that's authentic to who I am and what I want to be seen as and what I want my brand to be seen as, right? Like this aggressive, like no nonsense, we're going to take your soul from you type deal. And if you want that, cool. If you want to just get close to that, cool. You just want to get in there. You don't really care about the personality. You want the information, you know, and check and see if I'm a liar. Cool. Right, so I always wonder, like, when these swimmers are like selling like protein powders and stuff, it's like, is that really what they're looking for? You know, is that really what your followers are looking for? And honestly, like, I think making your pains, your wounds, your work is the easiest way to do this. Like with Rakely, the stuff that I'm teaching is the stuff that I wish I had known. Right? Like, I basically was 38th in the world not knowing how to pull. Like, when I went all out, like, I was slipping water. Even though I had a great vertical form, I wasn't using my strength. And I was a very strong person athletically. But if I had known how to do the bouncing stuff when I was in high school, man, I'd have been like 42 something in 2009. Right? When people weren't doing that. Easy. You know, because I was all legs, going 45. You know, as a junior, I didn't swim 100 free my senior year. Or seriously, on a relay I was like 43.2 on an anchor, but yeah, man, it's I don't think swimmers know their markets and what they want, which at a core is let's get faster. So hey, if you see this video and you're like, hey, you know, Dax, let's do some business, let's get this revenue share going, holler, I got the solution they need. And you got the complexion for the protection. Let's go.
One is recognizing that the brand I've built, it's not disappeared because of a, you know, excuse my French, shit season.
Dang, I gotta remember to cut this off. I wonder what is his brand? I wonder if he says that. Because your brand is your promise to your customers or to your viewers, your followers in his case. So I wonder what his brand is. or what he thinks his brand is. What his brand is and what he thinks his brand is. Because, all right, I'll say this. If I had to say what his brand is, I don't know, actually. Right? I know, like, he's a fast swimmer, right? You know, elite. Let's give him his credit. And he's an elite level swimmer. Christian, hyper Christian, to what I know. I do remember that about him when I met him at that pro-am when he was 15, I think, or 16. So, super Christian. Not a mean guy. There's no disrespect. Boring. Not boring. In a world of hyper emotionalism, boring. That's what I mean. Because I don't think he's boring as like a boring person. I just thinking like when people want this like you know, he's not that guy. You know, in a civil society, I'd say he's a collected person, right? He's a calm, collected person, but that unfortunately usually doesn't push numbers. I might be wrong though too, because like you said, his brand hasn't disappeared, whatever his brand is.
Up to me to continue to foster that, and I don't think I've been great at that. So that's what I'm excited about: some growth and some opportunity outside of that, and knowing that the platform's always there.
Yeah, totally. Well, for those listening, we rolled right into it, but thanks for joining Social Kick. We got the full crew: Dr. John Mullen, Luke Paddington, and the man himself, Michael Andrew. We're going to take this in so many different directions, but first let's start with like what you've been up to lately.
Oh my goodness. So life has been a bit of a whirlwind. Right after trials has kind of been like the start of a very new chapter for me. So everybody knows this. I've obviously Kansas raised, like the Midwest.
I wonder how much time he took off, or if he's still taking time off. Bro, it's like in college, like I didn't really have any direction as far as how to be. You know, I kind of just went with what everybody else was doing, and me coming from my background, that was not a good idea. But if I look back at it now, I would have put all my partying in like 2 months or 3 months of the season, and then we've been locked in the rest of the time. Right? Maybe there's like a week between the seasons, or 2 weeks, and then I would have been locked in. Like that's how I would have, if I was overseeing and leading Dax Hill, like that's what the plan I would have put me on. Right? Because a lot of times you got to protect people from themselves, and I was off the porch when I got to college. But yeah, I wonder, like if I was an Olympic athlete, I think I'd be taking like 6 months off. I'd probably be in the water like 3 times a week just to like keep some fitness. But yeah, I'd be chilling, taking time off, like enjoying life. And then like when it's time to lock in, like maybe have like another like break before like my final Olympic push where I'm locked in for like 2 years straight. Maybe I only have like a month off to enjoy myself in that locked in state. But man, I know I got some boogers. But yeah, I'd be locked in, or taking a lot more time off for sure. You know, people say mental health now, but just relax and reset. You know, I hate that term mental health though. Like it's so abused now, so abused.
Boy, moved to California, obsessed with the ocean, surfer lifestyle, whatever. So that was all in Encinitas. And a little over, maybe it's 15 months ago, I met a girl and we started dating. And so we've been very serious for the last 13 months. And I loved my time in Encinitas, but I decided it's going to be pretty important for me in this next chapter to be closer to her and her family because, it's not really fun.
Ain't wrong. You're a man of purpose, dog. You're supposed to be on a mission. You're talking about some chick right now. And that's kind of, I guess, a little bit expected. I don't know. Let's not go down that road. I'm going to say that dealing with women and their psychology is probably a little inexperienced. He has a sister, so that definitely helps because, if you're good with battering down and teasing your little sister, you should be pretty good with, or you have the capability of being good with girls. But, dude, we are in a toxic time between men and women relationships. And you're a famous guy, pause, good looking dude, well spoken, kind guy, kind hearted. Like, dude, you're famous too. Like, and that's the thing. Like, when you're you have the perception of money from girls, right? So, and I don't know what a screening process is. My advice is make sure that your girl goes and spends like a week with your mom and dad, and they learn like all your favorite recipes and whatnot, so that way your mom can screen her. Sorry.
Driving an hour and a half every weekend just to go see her, and so I made the move. I left Encinitas, and I'm living up in Costa Mesa now. Into a new house. I've changed my environment completely. I had to find new pools, new community. I'm very fortunate to have like friends and her and that up here.
I will say this though, he does live by God. So, and God always has a plan. So, but he didn't say God. He said move for a girl. So,
Just I think been a huge help for me coming off of what the season turned out to be, just a really poor one for me physically, mentally. Outside of all the fun change and all of the fishing and surfing and new truck and loving like all the
okay, so it does sound like he's taking a lot of time off. Shout out. That's good for you, man.
Lifestyle and a little bit of travel and this and that. There was a lot of emotions. So that's my goal, is to, even in this talk, is to, I haven't spoken with a ton of people outside of my very close circle. Actually, you guys are the first I've really talked to at all since trials, mostly because I recognize.
Yeah, shout out to Social Kick. Get that exclusive. Get the exclusive. Get the money. Get into that chicken. Shout out.
There's a lot I needed to process, and there was a lot of change for the better that was going to come out of it. But I really had to make some difficult decisions, and I had no idea where to start. And that naturally started with lots of tears, lots of emotion, a lot of sadness. And then able to kind of get past that through community and love. I was able to be like, okay, what do I want to do?
Okay, so that was kind of unclear. Did his move happen before trials or after? Because the way he's explaining it, if it's chronological, sounds like he made this terrible, if it's chronological, stupid, terrible decision to chase a girl when he should have been focusing on trials. Right? That's the thing, bro, about like, when I say this thing, a toxic relationship between men and women, like prior to 2020, girls wanted you to be masculine, bro. Like even the whole game, and the game I mean like the mating dance between men and women, it was predicated on a man being masculine and her testing you to see if you are who you are, if you're fake. And a lot of times, like if you're fake, like that's when you end up getting dumped, right? She's like, "Oh my God, the way you make me feel is so good," and then she actually hangs out with you and sees that, oh man, like that was all a facade. Like this guy sucks. But the point I'm making is like, if that would be you being on your purpose, right? Like if you're like, hey, this is my goal, like that was your goal before she met you, and if you threw that away before trials, like that's not a good look, bro. God-fearing or not, God path following or not, like that's not a good look, right? I believe in his faith, not that it's not my faith, but in his faith, it's God, man, woman, children, right? So he went God, woman, man. So I don't know. I'm just saying, like, so it's an inconsistency in his theology if that's the case.
And, I look back at trials and I never want to feel like that ever again in my life. And so how do I go about that? But lo and behold, the last couple of months have been great. Like it's been good. I thought it was one of those seasons that would never end, where I felt like I was going to be in that pretty dark place for quite a while, a lot longer than I actually was. And I think that was a really good lesson for me too, is learning the importance. And I think if you speak to any swimmer, people know me as the guy that probably does way too much outside of training and swimming. Like I have
like
too many hobbies. I enjoy my life. I travel.
All right, this is going to be a long video, so I'm probably not going to go through the whole thing. But bro, Michael, forget that, bro. If you're swimming fast, and as long as you, like I said, I think you need to channel it in times. And that's the thing too, though. Like, peace of mind is the most valuable resource on the planet. If you have peace of mind, your body is going to be optimized, right? Stress is the worst thing you can do, right? So if having all those hobbies like gives you that and allows you, because if you have peace of mind, your body's going to follow what your mind does, right? There's Buddhist monks who are freezing cold, sweating because in their mind they have control over their body. And so yeah, dude, if you feel good about yourself doing all that extra stuff, keep doing it, man. Like, there's different rules for different people, man. If you're Michael Jordan, you definitely not. But if you're Michael Jordan and that's what you do, like, people, like, your set of rules are completely different than anybody else's. So just something to keep in mind, bro. Be happy. Peace of mind is worth everything.
I'm always doing these things, but I do recognize there's a time for kind of blocking out a lot of that fun stuff and being pretty locked in. So yeah, lots of learning, lots of fun.
I was going to, you kind of answer the question, but I'm going to ask you, listen, you're not alone in this. You're not alone in having a bad meet, bad sectionals or NCAAs or high school meet, trials, not making the team, or even having a really bad performance. Oh, especially now, a month after the Olympics, a lot of people who even did well are no longer in the spotlight. Are no longer getting the phone calls ahead, front page of newspapers. And swimming has a massive problem of depression, and we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the pain that we go through. So, A, I appreciate you being here and the kind words already. And B, if you had, from your own learnings, like, what was that? Was it a just happened stance that you got to where you are now, or was it a really concerted effort and love and support by your parents, your family, your community, your church, your people? What do you think was you leaned on that might help somebody else who's experiencing similar things now?
Yeah, wow, that's very good. A really good question. I think what was hard is initially, I think I started to cherry pick who spoke into my life. And so I think the problem with that is, and I think it's good to, take everything with a grain of salt and be selective who your inner circle is. And my inner circle grew and it got really strong. And I think I started to, yes, through the circumstances and things that have happened, I recognized I needed to change. But I think it was also the help of having other people illuminate, because I think a lot of the times you can want to make a hard decision, but the fear of doing that, or the fear of failing, or the fear of hurting, always steps in. And I think it's having my girlfriend and people like my best friends and close community speak into my life to say, hey, like, this isn't the end of the road. This isn't how it stops. Like, making these shifts and changes aren't going to take away. They're only going to help you grow. And so I was kind of taking this from your buddy John, because you guys are going through the same stuff. No, different John.
John's a good guy. I've cried to John before.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's too, it's like, oh my goodness, and this is funny, like, I'm such an emotional person, and I think I try to not be that, because I feel like it's almost frowned upon. It's like, oh, I'm like this big, tough, masculine guy. You're not allowed to cry to people. Like, don't do it. And I broke down in front of everybody, family, closest friends, my girlfriend's family, all her sisters. Like, I remember calling my best friend in the elevator. Well, he called me, and
I always wonder about shit like that. Like, why you need to cry in front of everybody? Like, me, I think it's a terrible idea. I would never do that. I think I would never do it intentionally. Like, I'm going to go off. Kind of understand, like, sometimes you just get, swept up in the emotion of a situation. But yeah, bro, like, in front of your girl, I would not do that, but I can understand that. It happens. But in front of their family, bro? Like, why? That's the thing. Like, why? Why yes or why no? Like, why not to do that and why to do that? And to me, there's just no reason why you would to do that. Like, I feel like if you're crying, like you're talking about some serious stuff. And I don't know. I just don't see how their involvement in something that's probably going to bring you to tears, which if you're emotionally intelligent, you know it's a sensitive subject. Like, I don't know. This whole situation, yeah, not for me.
Just like lost it. So yeah, crazy things, but it's good to cry. It's good to speak to people and good to get your help. And then that's how you grow.
I don't know if this is a question, but I just want to recognize to the audience that, I've always thought about, obviously swimming, this sports in general. It's, imagine going for a job performance review and you've worked hard at this job for 4 years and you stand up in front of the entire freaking world who knows nothing about your job, nothing. And the whole world sees you just get out-touched and and you fail. And then you lose your job. You lose your sponsors, you lose everything. And then what do? It's hard enough for ourselves because we know we messed up or we had a bad start or we didn't have the right good taper or we're hard enough on ourselves, the regrets that we have in our training. But the pressure the world then puts on a Michael Andrew personality at the 22,000 people in Indy, freaking, after the performance you had at Tokyo, dude, I can only empathize with.
That to me is imposter syndrome. Now you might say something and then I might just eat my own words right here, but like this is what you signed up for. You don't get to cry about this type of stuff. Right now you can say like, oh, he didn't know. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't know. This is a part of the job. You don't get to cry about it. Right? Like for me personally, I have no sympathy for it. Like, you didn't do it. Own up. You didn't do it. Yeah, I fucked up. I didn't make it. I didn't swim as fast as I wanted to. Blah, 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 blah. Probably going to lose some sponsorships for it. Like, that's the game. That's the game. Now, obviously, you should have made sure your deals ran through for a certain amount of time. That's on you, too. Right? So, I don't know. And I think another thing that's worth noting is, like he said, if you have a tight circle, like this thing shouldn't affect you, right? If you're a tough person, these things shouldn't affect you, right? Like people can be on your ass, but if you know who you are and what you represent and like how hard you tried, like why are you letting people you don't like? That's the thing about the internet, bro. And like these people these days, why are you letting strangers on the internet that you're never going to meet in person? Like Tyler the Creator said, close the laptop and go outside.
You went through and others feel like that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think, going to therapy is similar to going to like physical therapy that I see all the time where it's like a lot of times, especially for men, and it goes on both categories. It's just like we push it off till it builds and builds and builds and builds and a lot of times if you can get ahead of it, it just makes things a lot easier. But hey, a lot of times, and like I said, I think men especially,
a big part of that too is caring about stuff you shouldn't be caring about though. Like there's time, I'm at a point in my life now where it's like I say, let's just use girls because that's a great example, where it's like if I was talking to this chick one time and I was like playing like a play pretend game with her. Like we were just talking and she was like, I don't play this game. And I swear to God, I just got up and walked away from her. We were sitting down. I just got up and left. Didn't say nothing, just left. And, she came over with her friend. She stayed there. Her friend came and talked to her and then she came back and her friend was like talking shit to me. Like, what did you say to her? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yo, like, it doesn't matter what I said. She's upset because she's never had someone just like say, no, I'm not going to play this game with you and walk away. Right? Because what she wanted me to do was what everybody else does in her life and like supplicate, like, oh, like my bad. I didn't mean to, like, please keep talking to me. And I was just like, nah, you ain't it. Like, I ain't going to sit here and talk to you about how you don't know how to flirt and beg you to keep talking to me. Like, yo, you just don't understand. Like, I don't want to talk. There's too much stress. Like, I'm out of here. Right? So I think a lot of this stuff, and it happens, they don't teach young men about how to screen your stuff in your life. And maybe it's an intelligence thing because, there's definitely older people who have these issues. But if you're a high performer, I think it's something you arrive at eventually. And just in age, right? It's just you end up having so much stuff going on in your life that you just don't have the mental bandwidth for I'm not gonna say non-compliance, but just for like things that are just making your life difficult for no reason. For no reason. Like, I'm trying to have a good time talking to you, girl, and you just want to do this power trip. Like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm already trying to conquer the world in my business. Like, I don't need this.
We need to learn from our own mistakes, our own experiences.
Yeah.
Even if other people are nudging, we're not always good at nudges or noticing nudges.
Totally. Well, I think we like to conceal, and so it is one of those. I don't think it's bad to be macho. I don't think it's bad to, I think obviously there's a certain point where you as a man, we bear a lot, and it's up to us to be a protector and to kind of, be a strong foundation for those around us. But in order to be that, you've got to have a healthy base. So
totally. Oh, you wouldn't show that emotion if you didn't put everything.
Personal matters and myself, and the fact that I don't think I don't know, you hear these stories about like no corner left untapped, like no stone unturned type of thing. And I think I left a lot on the table. I think I relied a lot on my gift and my talent, and a lot of other guys, they were working on it, and on the day they were more prepared and they beat me. And, it takes you so far. And I do think, had trials been a week later, maybe the results would have looked differently. I think that's the tough thing about sport, especially swimming, because it is so fractional, and so much can happen on the fly that isn't prepared for. But I think the biggest thing is I wasn't fully prepared. And part of that was to do with where my head was at, and, personal matters and family and things that needed a shift moving forward. And I think there was things that started to take a toll, and I think it showed in the pool, because you can't really separate the two, especially for me, because my whole life has been work, family, very intertwined and very and awesome. I think there's sides of it that have been amazing and really powerful, and also important to recognize. But what I see now as I've gotten older, and especially over the last 3 years, because we spoke about Greensboro at the beginning of this, and I missed that world's team there by 1/100th of a second.
That's right.
And I was already emotional into that week. That was there's a whole nother side of my life that, that people don't see. Mm-hmm. And then everything kind of started trickling downhill post, what was this? I'm trying to think, the last really great year I had was 2022 Worlds, where I'd won like 5 medals or something. Mm-hmm. Silver in the 50, bronze, and some relays. You
went like 27 in the 50 fly there, right?
Yeah. And then I think I just missed the 100 fly podium. Yeah, whatever. But yeah. I think what I'm kind of tying back and going to in my head is, as I've gotten older, especially right now, after the Olympics and trials and what it was, I think I started to give up ownership of what I was doing and not relying on myself to be the driving force in it. And I wouldn't say I relied on.
I'm calling it right now. I don't know if he's going to say this later in the interview. He fell out of love with it. He lost his why. Because the thing about ownership is, like, if I choose to go train with David Marsh, I'm choosing, my ownership is giving him ownership. Like, I choose to give and submit to his philosophies. So, but what he's describing is like he let other people impose on his ownership instead of him choosing who to give his ownership to, right? Like, he kind of was like, oh, okay. Right. And if you're doing that, you don't want to do that. So, and even the thing he said about his business, that he's like not involved in his brand, or he's let it kind of not slip, but it stayed intact. He described it as if he wasn't actively involved in sustaining it and growing it and making money off of it. Yeah, it just sounds like he just needs a break, dude, which ironically, being the wise person I am, that's what I said. 6-month break, swim 3 days a week, keep yourself in shape. Enjoy life, dude. Don't come back until you want to be there. You know, obviously, you know, eventually you may have to do it because, you know, it is a job, and sometimes you're not all the way in love with your job, but you're in love with, you know, the outcomes. You're in love with the competing. You know, you're in love with trying to dominate another guy, to take his will from him competitively. Yeah, just off this so far, it sounds like he just fell out of love with it and just like he was just tired, needed a break.
My family or the people around me, but I think I put too much on them to where it's like, oh, like you need to push me, you need to do this or this and that. And so I think for me now is like, I need to take complete ownership of my career, and I need to decide on what I think is going to help me get to this next level and what's going to.
That's also a side effect of training alone. Right. That normally there are days where you need that, what he just said, like that's what he just said is totally normal right there. Right. There's days where I don't want to be there. And I know at least myself, like talking shit to Surov, right, during IM sets, right? Like I'm sure that maybe he was always on, but maybe there was a day where he was like a little off and I'm talking shit about how I shouldn't be keeping up with him. What's he going to do? Accept that? Like at UT, you don't have a choice to accept that. You have to fight back. Like, no, like you're not doing your job as a Longhorn. I'm calling you out on it. Like if you double down on that, accepting that failure, like hell's gonna break loose. Like somebody's gonna say something, and it's gonna get aggressive. It's gonna escalate real quick. So yeah, what you just said is like that's normal, man. Like you shouldn't feel bad or ashamed about that. That's just a part of swimming. You just weren't in an environment where somebody else could, you know, a teammate who cares and loves you can, a teammate who's going through it with you and cares and, you know, loves you and wants to see you do well is going to be there for you, have your back and be like, hey, yo, I got you. Like, stick with me today, you know, or in someone like my case, where, yo, quit being up over there, step up. But yeah, like that's normal, dude. Ain't nothing wrong with you.
Push me there. And I think that's really good because I can't blame anyone else anymore, you know, and I think that's an important part of it. So it'll be an interesting, I'm very excited for the next couple of months, the next couple of years. Like without saying too much, it's not, the reason didn't come out, or my desire to change that didn't come out of me thinking my dad's just about this call in particular, just because I know that what's coming out is there's a lot of, it's a sensitive topic, especially for me and my family. And so without sugarcoating it, I'll probably sugarcoat it, but without beating around the bush, I've trained my entire career with my dad as my coach. And
Successfully.
I, over the couple of weeks post trials, realized I need to do something different in order to get back to where I once was. I think, and it's not, the reason didn't come out, or my desire to change that didn't come out of me thinking my dad's not a good enough coach or that my dad's not capable of it, because we've achieved some pretty astronomical things together, which is really exciting and something that, you know, like I said, we will always have that platform and he'll always be an incredible coach. And, but we now open up the avenue for both of us to learn in some different capacities. And so I will still work with my dad as, you know, we're part owners in my MA Swim Academy and all the clinics that we want to do. And, you know, being able to kind of create outreach. And I still believe very much in USRPT and all these things. And I think this is what's been giving me the anxiety for the last couple of weeks, is like, people are going to think I, like, you know, completely now shutting the door on what my entire career was built on. Like what I've been known for my whole life is training with my dad.
Yeah.
I think this is another issue with his isolated situation. And at least in public school, especially like playing basketball, like you got to learn how to like have thick skin, right? And like kind of some of the stuff he's talking about is stuff that you should be going through like teenager, like 14, like as a young teenager, maybe even a 6th grade, you know, preteen, when you start, those elementary schools mesh for middle school. Like he said, he's worried about what people are going to think. Like, F those people, bro. Like, why do you care? Like, if people ask, like, yo, my dad's a great coach. You see what we did? We were stunting out there. Like, that's all you need to say, man. So, like, I don't know. I think I guess what I've drawn so far, right, is that he lost the love of it for a while, and he needed a break. And the second thing is I'm not going to say something's wrong with his inner circle, but something's up with his inner circle that somehow outside opinions of people he doesn't really know or care about on a level where it's like you're not willing to die for them or kill for them. He's letting these opinions hurt his, like even these guys, no offense to them. Like, how much does he really care about their opinions on what he's doing? Right? Like, how does that shape your life, Michael? You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know, like, something's going on there where, like, all this external noise is being allowed to affect him. Which may be on his inner circle, it may be on him. It's definitely both. But, yeah, it's just an odd, I'm just observing things, you know what I'm saying?
Pioneering USRBT and being like, family unit, like all these things that come with it. And so it's been scaring the living out of me. And I finally realized, like, one, I can't control what other people are going to say. I can't control what people are going to think. I've definitely tried. There's enough meme accounts out there that get a lot of clicks off of my name, and good for them. Like, run with it while you can. But oh my gosh, like, enjoy your time on the couch. And so, like, those type of things they do, they eat at me, and it's irritating. I've given them that power, but you know what? At the end of the day, they don't know where my heart is, and they don't know what I'm desiring to do and why I'm doing it. And so I am.
You don't either. If it's affecting you, you don't either. I think that's something very important to, if you're watching this, Michael, this is a masterclass on mental health. God, I hate that term because it makes it sound like whatever is addressed with it is mentally unhealthy, and it's not. And it's only this way. Just like when people say demure now, like that means shut up and be kind. That's what demure is. It means you don't talk and you're pleasant. Right? But it feels like it means something else now, right? Mental health, what it means is like, to me, I might be actually the one who's wrong, is your peace of mind. That's what I'm going to say, your peace of mind. This will be a masterclass in peace of mind, bro. If you pay attention and take what I'm saying to heart, is you got to really start thinking about how does, like, what the things that you're allowing to affect you, like, why? Ask yourself, why do I care about this? Why is this bothering me? Like, why do these meme accounts bother me? Is it because they're true? If you don't like it, change, right? If you're like, nah, I don't care that much, like, am I willing to kill for what they're saying about me? Am I willing to fight these people over it? No. Why are you letting it bother you then, man? Just laugh about it, find something funny to say about it, talk shit back. For me, online, that's a great way to channel my competitive energy is I go at people's necks when they start talking shit or talking about stuff that I know that they ain't thought about. I just had a conversation with a guy about breaststroke, and like the stuff he was saying, like I realized last night, and I was like, wait, he brought up a point about something that I never even was talking about. Like I was talking about breaststroke pull and how to mitigate it or how to manipulate it for speed, and I just realized at a certain point I was like, he started talking about kicking, like, and I was arguing with this guy about what he had brought up, and then I'm like, yo, but now it's just like, I can't believe I gave this guy my energy. Like I should have been savvy enough to realize that he immediately moved the goalpost to make his point, and it's like, that's not what I'm talking about, and it was a good waste of, getting some of that angst and energy out was, smacking him down like a little pup. But yeah, dude, like, I don't know. I think you got to listen to your feelings more, man. And I don't mean emotions. I mean your feelings, your instincts. You know, use your logic, screen through the things. And then, you know, that's what I do is as a guy, like women are much better with their instincts. It's natural to them. They do a lot of amazing things off instincts where you're like, wow, like I got to go through like me mentally. I got to go through so many steps. Like now I really don't. I was maybe like 2 steps or, you know, I'm pretty good with my instincts now. I don't put myself into illogical situations where I got to think about it. I can kind of just run on instinct because I know the logic has already been done for me to be in whatever situation occurs. But there's times where like I had to like think like, okay, like, does this make sense? Yes. How do I feel about this? Okay. Why do I feel like that about that? Okay. Does that make sense based on blah, 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 right? And I think you need to start paying attention to how you feel about things, right? Like a meme account, like, is it funny? Okay. How do I feel about it being funny? It makes me feel kind of bad. Okay, what am I going to do about it? Fight them? No, can't do that. Okay, well, I'm wasting my energy, right? You need to get in touch with your feelings, my bro. For sure.
Excited for the change. So I'm right now in the process of, well, I know where I'm going. I can't really say yet. That's for everyone to start, you know, questioning and chatting about, but
Cal or Texas? He said he's in California. You know, he's going to go train with some pros. He ain't going to go train with some high school team. So it's either Cal, because he's a sprinter. You got Dave Marsh up there. You got Dave Durden up there. Ryan Murphy's there. You know, he does a lot of sprint backstroke too. Michael Andrew does everything. You know, I don't know if Tom's still swimming, but I'm sure they have some good flyers up there. And then the other option is Texas. You know, everybody wants to be a Longhorn now. They didn't want to sign the scholarship paper, though, when we recruited them. Yeah, I'm tripping about that. It's the thing that it pisses me off about everybody, like, wanting to be here now, like, wanting to rock that Longhorn cap, but you didn't want to rock it when we recruited you. Like, take that shit off. Wear something else. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Now, that's not how I'm going to approach people. But deep down, like, that's how I feel. Like, take it off. Like, you ain't one of us. You know, go wear a Longhorn Aquatic cap. You want to be on the club team, but yeah, you ain't one of us. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, I earned, like, being a Longhorn. You know, I wanted to be here. They recruited me. I signed. I didn't choose another school. You chose another school. So don't wear the Longhorn cap. Go put on the Texla, that black and white cap. That's what you are. And I think it's, to me, it's kind of despicable that the people who are Longhorns on campus just like let people ride with it like shit is sweet. I don't know. That's just me though. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I definitely earned like the right to feel like that. Like we recruited you and you didn't want to be here. Take our cap off.
We're waiting for some final approvals, but I'm currently working with a coach and running programs here and basically training myself up until World Cups, and then hopefully after World Cups, I'm able to make a big shift. And then this, yeah, I don't.
And that's the other thing. It's disrespectful. Like I don't know. Like for me, it's like if I left and went and trained with another college team, like I'm wearing whatever the club cap is. You know, like at least at meets. Maybe in practice, like, yeah, I went to Cal, but I, always wanted to be a Longhorn deep down. So I'm going to get my reps in and wear the cap and be like, just people can just be mad at me. But like it means like that's just disrespectful to me, in my opinion. Like rocking another team's cap, like it's disrespectful to the university I attended. It's disrespectful to the people who like earned and who are here and like bled to and like actually represent the brand. Like if I was at ASU training with them, I would not be wearing an ASU cap at meets. I wear like Sun Devil Aquatics or whatever the club team is. But like, I don't know. I think it's just disrespectful. Like I'm not a Longhorn. And like for me to go there and like just jump on their bandwagon because there was popping right now, like that to me, like I'd feel fake. I'd feel like a fraud. I'd feel like I'm being super disrespectful, acting like I'm one of them and I can just do whatever I want because I'm me, right? Like I didn't earn the right to be an ASU Sun Devil, right? Like I didn't earn that. So like, why would I rock that? Why would I do that? You know, that's just me. That's just how I feel about it. I think it's disrespectful. And I think the fact that they don't think it's disrespectful, I think that's even more disrespectful.
we can maybe cut for another question, but there's a lot also, even family's life, even in my family's life, there's been so much that's happened. My dad's in South Africa still, actually. So people that might not know this, my parents are both born and raised South African.
Yeah.
I have dual nationality, but my grandfather, who I was named after, he passed away.
Who I also worked for, and that didn't work after a while. And there was a meet where like things didn't go right, and I was like, we got to not do this anymore because we can't have both of them at the same time. And then at the same time,
that's the crazy thing. Looking at it is like, man, you realize how pathetic it is that we stress over the things that we do. So
yeah,
good perspective to have.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry to put a real wet blanket over the mood.
No, I mean, that's like, if when you were talking earlier about just like being emotionally, I brought up a lot of things about me, not in the middle of my career. I mean, I had ups and downs, and I also had crossover with a coach who I also worked for, and that didn't work after a while. And there was a meet where like things didn't go right, and I was like, we got to not do this anymore because we can't have both of them at the same time. And then at the same time, the other thing you said that resonated was just in my last meet, things didn't go the way I wanted to, and I totally lost it, because it's like, I don't know. And the process of discovery to figure it out, is complicated because it's an art and not a science, and as scientific as we want to be about it, bodies change, relationships change, people change. So you're a different person later. And so you're like, okay, well, there's some theories that I can have, but the fun part is, hey, do I still love doing this? Okay. Yeah. Am I having fun? Yeah. But I want to have more fun if I'm doing well. So like, let's start to, peel back the layers and the pieces and go to build it. And what I hear is like, you're in that spot now where you're like, okay, fuck, I got a plan, and I'm excited about that plan. And like, that's cool for me to hear from you. Cause it's not fun to watch people have a down season. Like,
Hey, yo, John. Hey, yo, Doc John. Waiting for you to interject, my boy. I know this guy. I know his name. Something about him I know from somewhere.
I've had a fun time getting to chat you and then follow your career and, give you a fist bump telling you to please go break my U.S. Open record in the 50 fly.
I remember.
And so those are cool moments. And so I want to share as many good ones as we can too. So,
totally. No, totally. Well, and I think the beauty in it all, and you touched on it so well, is like relationships change. And I think what's cool is I look at my relationships, they haven't gotten weaker. They've actually gotten stronger, and they've gotten to the point where I value them more in the context of protecting my family and having my dad be my dad. Like, let's go fishing. Let's go, let's enjoy things that we really gave up for a long time in order to build this, and so I'm excited for that. And I think my dad's really excited for it too. And that's what I think makes this shift easier. And I know it's hard because obviously we've of a good father and a good team. And
who swims at 200 IM like you do?
Not many.
Who swims 20, 25s all out on 40? Like, I've done those sets.
Don't be too flattered, Michael. Everybody's stronger than Luke.
and then who's
Brian just sees me getting my ego. He's not going to knock him down a little bit.
Well, we got to be in reality.
But whose family gets together and has the strength to make a decision for the love of their son? Because I know that was your dad's decision as well, and you.
I think that's a big avenue, and I think what's been exciting about the coach I'm working with is he's definitely. He's followed my career very closely, and I think has taken a lot of inspiration from what I've done, and that's been a blessing. And so I see there's like the room for growth is insane. I've never lifted consistently. I've never developed these, and so Yeah, and outside of that, like I'm recognizing the importance of what I put in my body. I think when I was younger, is like eat everything, be healthy. But now I'm a little more specific with knowing what goes into it. So taking a little more time to understand that and the macronutrients that come along with it, even as basic as hydration and creatine. Like I was good with creatine at a point, but like, you start to rely on just the specificity of what you're doing. I think as a 25-year-old, you're looking at these kids that are coming up and have access to all the science, and the ones that are doing it, oh, they're fast.
Guys obviously felt it with speed and velocity and
where your mind is at as you go into it, based on the work you've put in, based on how you've fueled your body, based on how you've rested, based on what you've prioritized. And so I'm excited to have that control again over myself and understand, it's up to me to kind of do. And then I get to work with people around me that are also pursuing excellence. So
with, there's so many, like you said, changes happening, and unfortunately in swimming we just don't have the opportunity to change often, right? So many people have one or two coaches their whole life.
Yeah.
They have one training plan that they're kind of set forward in, or that's what the swimming community believes in. Oftentimes it's fill the bucket, fill the cup of volume, where you guys obviously filled it with speed and velocity and specificity early on. So it's really exciting to kind of see how things will be shifting with some different changes. I remember, Dr. Rushaw, the creator of USRPT, rest in peace, great mind, but a bit of a zealot from my experience with him. I remember writing an article about resistance training and him pretty much saying, don't pretend to know what I know, and getting in a battle with me. And I was like, I was just saying, we don't know all the answers about resistance training because there's such a limited research on it. So I'm really excited just to see what's ahead for you with all these changes. And like you said, as little as, we always think about training volume and training sets, but just having people to train with, different environment, sometimes those unlock those stones that will just elevate to the next level.
Right. Well, and I think too, like you look at, I'm trying to think of how my coach described this. Like it's the law of, is it acclimatization? Like how you acclimate to certain stimulus. And so there's a lot of incredible benefits to doing the same thing over and over, but your body will get to a point where it does need something different or a change in order for that stimulus to grow and to strengthen. And so, a very small example of.
So, this, like I said, this is my first video watching of theirs, other than clips. I don't think I've seen Dr. John talk. You should talk more, buddy. Talk more, dog. I wish you had took all that into a question, but yeah, like, first time you said something that I've seen or can recall to memory, and I think that was a really insightful thing. A lot of swimmers do not get the chance to change teams, right? At least like high level swimmers, right? Because if you're a high level swimmer and you're on a club team, like you're usually going to stay on that club team. Like you ain't switching teams. Like the people who usually are changing are the ones who are not getting attention from coaches, feel like an afterthought, or not as fast. It's never the fast kids that are really changing teams like that, right? Like I think usually if it happens, it's like a coach change happens, when they're on their, a senior or something, and then they, switch teams. But yeah, then, you go to college, you switch. Usually you stay in your group that you train with, so you don't see another philosophy. And then you're done, right? Maybe you go pro and you stay there, which maybe you see a different philosophy, probably not. Like even you got to think about the people that came with Bob from Arizona State. Like if they were only with Bob, they're still only with Bob, even though they moved, right? So they moved to a different location, but same philosophy. So even though they feel, it's going to feel like they changed, like they didn't. You see what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. Yeah, that was a very good shout out to Dr. John. You need to, from what I've seen, this is the first time you talk. I'm guessing you don't normally. I don't know. Like I said, the first episode I've seen, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, dude, just based off that, like that to me was the most insightful thing that was said the whole time. I wish you had rounded it into a question, but you definitely posed it in a way for Michael to kind of run with it. But yeah, dog, ask more stuff. Like, I'm sure you got a lot more insight. And that was, yeah, I never even thought about that. I was lucky, like, you know, I had a coach who was kind of like a more middle distance coach. You know, he wasn't a middle distance coach, but he gave us middle distance sets. He kind of ran it through like a computer app and wrote up his sets that way. We weren't really his own creations. But he was like my first coach, and then I had a coach who like had us doing like 25s and 50s only. Not sprint, like a sprint coach, but like that's just what we did in practice. Like it wasn't like what I would call a sprint program based on like what I've learned about sprinting and how their sets go down. Then going to UT, right? Training in their sprint group first, which was like kind of it was like a sprint middle distance group is how I would describe it. You know, it's like mental distance training done with sprint performance and philosophies and principles. And then going to middle distance group, which is kind of like, I would call it more of like a 500, 400 free. Eddie definitely had to swim up. So you were kind of training on that level. You know, seeing that and then seeing how different athletes in those groups, right? Because usually I would even say like, you go into like a middle distance program, like they're all middle distance swimmers. At UT, you'd have some sprinters who really swim up and go train mid-D and then come down to swim their events, or they cross-train into different groups. So kind of getting to see a lot more different perspectives. And then my lane was like on the border of distance group. So I got to see what they were doing. And then going to swim at, right? And being there with David and spending time with the sprinters, most of the time with the middle distance guys, Clary and Lochte, and seeing how they did things. But yeah, that was a great catch, Dr. John. Let's hear some more from you, my guy.
New things that I'm doing is like swimming with paddles and learning how to kick on a board. Like, I didn't realize how useless my legs were on their own. Granted, it's you know, it's a balance piece, it's for flotation, but if I can mentally, and this is where I think a lot of it is a lot of it's in the mind, is if I know that I can kick whatever's a quick 200 or do this with fins or underwater and like all these strength components.
That's telling. So shout out to him. Yeah, his 200s are gonna be a lot better. Nobody says if I can kick whatever for a kick, whatever's a good time. Like, you know what a good sub 210, sub 220, all right, under 105 for kicking, ideally under a minute. Like, you know what a great, at his level, what a great kicking time is. The fact that he has no idea, like, shout out. He's gonna, you know, I hope he gets his kicking under control for sure.
That's only going to help me, especially in that last 50 of that 2IM, is like, if I don't lose my legs, I break the world record by a second. Like, it's just one of those things where I do think, yeah, there's so much growth in new stimulus and new challenges, and then having a group of people to push me.
Yeah, but he was also swimming without muscle mass. So that's something to, you know, that, and then I'm sure whatever technique changes are going to change things up. So, you know, like I said, you know, it's going to be just, like you said, it's going to be a new stimulus that he's going to have to adjust to. So, yeah, just something I thought about. Like, yeah, maybe you're, based on who you are now, if your legs didn't die, you break the world record by a second. But who knows what swimmer you're going to be once you put on that muscle mass, right?
Will be awesome.
In 2013, I was living for 4 months with a professional swimmer who was a 200 IM medalist, turned 50 freestyler medalist that year, George Ravel. And
I love George.
And he was a pro then.
Shout out to George.
I remember living and training with him, and everything he was so particular about. His life didn't revolve around being a swimmer, but everything was swimming related. The grocery store, the kind of oil cooked, how we washed the dishes, how long we spent in the gym, what water we drank. Every single day, part of his day was planned, from his training to his recovery. Right? What's life like for you tomorrow morning when you wake up? What are you doing?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. So I actually, and this actually came from my girlfriend's dad, but I always, you know, used to think I was very routine, but what was routine was just like the hours that I would train. And so he's a very, very smart businessman. And what we did is we kind of went through and we mapped out.
Okay, there we go. I stand corrected. That's why he said he was crying in front of his girlfriend's family. So yeah, his girlfriend's dad. Okay, so all right, now everything makes a lot more sense now. Just off this one thing, when he said about moving for his girl. I'm not saying that he thought like this. This is what I'm analyzing. His girl's an asset to his life for sure. And that's what it's supposed to be, you know. We're supposed to be assets to each other's life, but she is enhancing his life greatly. I bet she is a lot more involved in her dad in this decision than he's letting on. If this is his new girlfriend, I don't know how new, and he's already on this type of timing where he's got a whole schedule. He's starting to map out like his actual life. Like I said, something that I figured out I should have been doing with figuring out how I wanted to just partying, you know, when that was appropriate for my goals. Yeah. Shout out. Good job on you, man.
Every hour of the day throughout the week and understood if any time is unaccounted for, I'm going to waste it. Like, I need to know what I'm doing, even if it's a recovery hour. So much like what George was doing is understanding that. So my routine every morning, I'm in the pool. I wake up at 6 a.m. I'm in the pool 7 to 9. Sometimes I'm out early, or typically an hour and a half, most of the sets. Deliverables. I have a lot of commitments, or I'll meet my buddy at a pond and we'll do some freshwater stuff, or we'll surf on the weekend. Kind of a boring stroke. Like it's slower, it's very technical, and when you
Suppose I
mentioned it's expensive.
Most enjoy now racing, and is it different to training?
Ooh, man, I feel like it's been so long since I raced. I think for the last couple of years, consistently, the 50 free is just always my most exciting event. Like I love it. I love training it. I love racing it. I don't really think it gets any better than being as strong as you can and holding it for as long as you can, just all out effort. And then outside of that, 100 breaststroke. Like I love the 100 breaststroke, especially when you get it right. I think it's easier for me to train than it is to badly. And
sure.
And, yeah, so I think that was just, I definitely get in my head about that. And it's a difficult one to train for, because I do think, you know, the level of conditioning who I am at trials.
All right. So, we got about halfway through it, 40 minutes in, you know, great interview so far based on what I can see. I'll attach it in the link below so you guys can go check it out, show them some love. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, shout out to Michael. It sounds like he's really getting back into liking it, or at least he's respecting it as a job. Definitely sounded like he had some downtime where he was not enjoying being out there at all. So, you know, that's always good. You know, you want to see people do well. I'd be tripping sometimes, but I ain't no hater. You know, if you're wrong about something and I think you're wrong, I'll say you're wrong. But at the end of the day, like, if you ain't being evil to me, like, I ain't gonna be reckless and talk crazy to you. I'm gonna have, you know, some things I don't like and do like, and I'm gonna say them because that's how I feel and how I think. But when I say feel, remember, I mean instincts, right? But yeah, like, as far as just wishing ill will on anybody, like, that's kind of just messed up. Like, especially if you ain't like cross me or nothing. Like, I ain't tripping like that. But yeah, man, shout out, you know, girlfriend's dad's got you on some good shit. Yeah, man, like, like I said, I got mine written down right here what I'm doing today. So, and this is the third thing on my day. I woke up at 6 today. It was like 5 something. But yeah, I got active at like 6-ish. So yeah, man, shout out. You know, it looks like you got your head on your shoulders, getting good at your kick. You know, trust yourself more. Shout out to the Social Kick platform. Maybe I can get on there one day. But yeah, Dr. John, talk more, dog. You know, from, like I said, I only got through 40 minutes, and I jumped around a little bit, skipped a few minutes here and there at a time. But yeah, Coach John Coach Dr. John, from what I saw, asked one question. It was made one comment, and it was a very insightful comment that I've never heard anybody say before. And this is my first time watching, right? So I imagine he has to have had other really insightful, one-time comments. It's like shooting a basketball, right? If you're shooting 60%, you can shoot more, right? Until you get around like 48, maybe if depending on your standards, 48, 45%, that's when you need to start passing. And you need to put some more shots up, dog, because you shooting a high clip. You need to shoot that ball more. But yeah, guys, remember, make sure you drop a follow, drop a like, share it to somebody. Shout out to Social Kick, shout out to Michael Andrew.